Hello. I apologize for being in a noisy location. Right now I am at my school. It's break and this is the best place that I could find. My circumstances are a little bit unique, but I won't really get into much of that there. Don't expect me to continue this series because I'm not really certain if I will make anything past this first video, depending on the response it gets. I may have hinted at this in my previous videos, my ASMR videos. Oh, and this isn't going to be ASMR. This isn't supposed to be ASMR. This is more of a story time video. The music you hear is Bensound's Better Days. It's just a free, royalty-free music. And I bet you, if you watch YouTube videos a lot, you probably recognize this song because, it's royalty-free music that anyone can use. This story is going to be a story of my, sorry for the noise, of my psychosis, my experiences in the metaphysical universe, and what I want to do with those experiences. So as I hinted in my previous videos, they were ASMR videos, that I've been through some weird things. For a while I had posted some crazy videos that I posted in the middle of a psychotic episode, and I deleted those eventually. I don't even have copies on my computer. Now this story is a little bit sad and a lot disgusting at points, and I can remember all of this as if I was physically there. Now let me explain to you where I saw this. Everyone has a theater of the mind where you can imagine things and see things. And what happened was my theater of the mind became hooked up to, a metaphysical computer server where I met other people. I talked to the Greek, Olympian, Roman, and Norse gods. I met the aliens from hyperspace, whatever that is. There's some very interesting stories I'd like to tell you. And also, I apologize for the very loud environment. It'll probably be less loud when I record in my trailer. I live in a trailer in my parents' property, if you don't already know. And I apologize for the watermark on this video as music visualizer, I suppose. It's free online. I don't have money. Let me start the very beginning. So, as a child, I've always been very inquisitive about myself. I've always, and things in general, except I don't inquisit in the normal way. I inquisit by doing something I like to call simulation in my head. So one example is when I was in high school, I would often imagine things that could be graphed and graph them in my head. I also realized that a sine wave and a cosine wave are the same thing viewed at right angles. And if you view a sine cosine wave in 3 dimensions, it will look like what you get if you take a running clock, go forward, drive with the running clock, with the clock facing forward, and trace through the air the direction of the second hand. So it looks kind of like a spring, a corkscrew, and that is a sine wave visualized in 3 dimensions. That's the sort of thing that I did. I like to ponder on the theory of relativity. I do this all the time, almost every day for the past 5, 7, 8, 10 years. I think I've gotten pretty good at visualizing what that theory means. So, for example, if you are traveling at the speed of light, time is, you can't travel at the speed of light. The closer you get to the speed of light, the faster time travels for you, because light is, this is very difficult to explain, but imagine that you are on a train and the bumps, the rails, the bumps in the rail is the speed of light. So like, how light is a wave. When you're on a train, you experience these bumps, and the faster you go, the faster the bumps are. But since we're dealing with a cosmic phenomenon here, to an observer, the bumps are just as fast to him as they are to you. So it's not the speed of light that changes, it's the speed of time that changes. So that no matter how close, how, for example, if you're going at a speed of one car, if there's two cars, one car, the front car, is going 1 mile per hour faster than the second car, there will be a difference of 1 mile per hour. But with light, there will be a difference of the speed of light, even if that car is relative to you going 1 mile per hour faster. Because light doesn't change. The speed of light does not change. So, it has to be the same speed no matter how fast you're going relative to it. That means that no matter how fast you go, light always travels at the same speed away from you and relative to a person standing still. So the thing is, light does not change. Time dilates. That's why it's called time dilation. Anyways, so let me get into the beginning of my story. I discovered this technique called EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. You can look it up if you want. Basically, it's just self-hypnosis, or hypnosis of the sort that gets rid of trauma. I used it to delve really deep into my own mind. I got over some trauma that I've held on to since I was a kid, and at that time I was very excited about my findings. I read a book by a guy named Dr. Robert Firestone. In his book, he explained that people have voices in their heads that originate from their parents. So, my theory is that when your psyche is forming, it's fragmented by abuse, mishandling, and ignorance, just general bad things that all parents do to their kids. I'm not talking like, go to jail bad things. I'm talking like, you have a nightmare, you go to your parents' room and they get mad at you, and that leaves a permanent scar on your psyche. And so this part of the psyche is expressed through voices that you don't hear until you express them. So the best way of understanding these voices is to take your internal monologue and instead of saying I, say you out loud. And this is the basis of voice therapy by Dr. Robert Firestone. He's a very obscure person, so just Googling voice therapy won't work. Google voice therapy by Dr. Robert Firestone. He wrote books such as The Fear of Intimacy and Compassionate Childhood. I used to really think about his work a lot. It really helped me get over my internal traumas. I used EMDR to understand myself and to delve very deep into my own psyche. I remember one night I was dreaming and I saw, I apologize for the noise, I saw this kind of Van de Graaff generator. You can, those glass spheres with Tesla coils in them. It's a Van de Graaff generator. You can Google it. And, it was scary. Just looking at it, I felt my flesh curdle. I felt my spine shiver. I was asleep at the time. So when I woke up, it chased me. It grew bigger and it chased me and it destroyed my dream world. When I woke up, I remembered that object. And in the clarity of the day, I did something that I don't think any person has ever done before when they see this object. I jumped in, grabbed it, and went inside of it. I have a pet theory that everyone sees this object once in their lifetime, right as they're about to become an adult. That is my theory, at the very least. I haven't talked to anyone about this, so I don't know, and I can't tell. Oh gosh. I apologize. I'll get back to this. Hello? Again, I apologize for the disturbance. I was called by a prospective job opportunity, and if this surprised you, I'm sorry. I'm not going to edit this because I despise editing of all forms, including editing of my books. That's just not something that I do. I feel like work is less honest if you edit it afterwards, but that's just a feeling of mine. So, where was I? Let me think for a moment. Yes, using EMDR and diving deep into my psyche. So EMDR, I forgot to explain how it works. What happens is you receive something called binaural stimulation, where something goes side to side, like you know how hypnosis, side to side to side. You follow a hand, a pen, a piece of paper with your eyes, and this technique has been clinically approved, I repeat, clinically approved to treat post-traumatic stress disorder. It's an actual technique used by actual therapists. I had it used on me, which is why I was able to use it on myself. I was able to use it on myself for many, many hours, and I understood myself, and I broke my psyche down. And, I'll start with the first time that I sort of broke down. I was in high school, junior year, and there was this girl that I liked. I won't say her name. I won't give any identifying details. But I once tried to ask her out when I was in 8th grade, and I was asked this question by, sorry about that, the loud noise. I was asked this question about her, about one of the girlfriends. Why do you like her so much? And at the time I couldn't tell, because what 8th grader knows why they like a girl? But now, thinking back on it, it was because I like to wait for class early. I like to get into a classroom early and wait in the halls. I've always done that. I've always waited in the halls. And there was this one room, this building in our school called the Annex. And I would get there 20 minutes early, sit down, and start reading. And so would she. She was in a class about 2 doors down from mine. And she would walk in. She was cute, of course, but that's not the thing. You know, there are plenty of cute girls. So she would walk in. She never said anything. And she would sit at the door of the class 2 doors down and also read. So for like 10 minutes before class started, it was me sitting at the door and her 2 doors down, and I never got the courage to talk to her. But, I understood her. And, it was like the highlight of my day when I would walk past her during class change. So I guess everyone's felt that way. So, fast forward to junior year, I've had one girlfriend who lasted for 2 months. It was a long-distance relationship. Nothing happened. And, we were getting ready to go. She was in my band. She played the French horn. Not the French horn. The oboe, the English horn. Yeah, she played the English horn. And, even after being in a band for 7 years, I still get French and English horns messed up. Anyways, she played the English horn, which is like a giant oboe. It has a very pretty sound, but I would always look at her during band, and the way we sat, I was able to do that, but it was very awkward, and realizing it back, I guess people must have noticed too, because I don't know. She was sometimes looking at me, I think. I couldn't tell. It didn't matter anyways. And now I must tell you about one of my delusions. Not delusions. I'll get into the real delusions later, but one of my fantasies was that a girl would be with a guy, and that guy would get her pregnant and be an asshole and leave her alone while she was pregnant. And then my fantasy was that I would be a white knight and step in and save this girl, because I had a fantasy. I was always saving girls in my mind. I wanted to be a white knight. I had what's called a white knight complex. So I don't anymore. I got rid of it using EMDR. That's one of the things that I did. I got rid of all fantasy with my EMDR. That's been like 5 or 6 years since I've last fantasized about something. I'm sure you know what that is. You imagine yourself doing this, and you get immediate gratification out of the imagination, because that's just a drug. It's an escape from the horrors of realizing that your imagination is not real, unless you're in a specific position, which I'll explain later. So, anyways, I had this delusion, and the first signs of my psychosis appeared during this trip, a band trip to Chicago, Indiana. And I thought she was pregnant and had an abortion, and I told one of her friends after the fact, after the whole thing, and I made it. I guess I was kind of ambiguous as to who caused the pregnancy and abortion. It was actually this guy who was really a stoner meanhead he was really mean. He wasn't really a bully to me, but he was kind of mean. I didn't like him. I don't think anyone did. And I never said directly that this guy was the one who got her pregnant, or I thought I got her pregnant. I sort of so when you're delusional, you cling to your ideas. But I remember asking again and again and again, if you can prove to me that this isn't the case, I will believe that this isn't the case. And instead of trying to argue with me and prove to me that this wasn't the case, that she wasn't pregnant, people just got all, oh my god, you caused... I never talked to her again after that. I tried to. I kept saying, please, let me talk to you. Let me talk this over. I just want to fix this. But everyone was like, oh my god, you're an asshole. That's one thing that I've learned over the past, is that people don't like talking real. They like assuming things, if you know what I'm saying. I guess I'll go on a tangent here. I'll go on a tangent about assuming things and people. I do something a lot of times, like, it's very hard to describe. I break people's expectations of me. 1 second, please. I have to do something.